Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to give an update to the tournament structure story that we talked a lot about in the last week, some more of the conversation that's been going on online, and some communication from TPCI on the topic. We will look at a few new cards that got revealed, one from Terastal Festival, the next set coming out in Japan. And then also we will look at a couple of cards revealed from the EX starter deck generations. Just a couple of them look interesting, but most of them are just kind of starter deck cards. We'll do City League Watch this week as well, since the brand new set is legal over there in Japan. We're going to get an early look at some Surging Sparks metagame things that are happening over in Japan. We will, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. And we're going to wrap up this week by talking about the results from the Lille Regional Championships, which took place this past weekend over in France. And then we're going to kick things over to our bonus episode exclusive to our Spotify subscribers and our YouTube channel members. So if you want to see some extra content from myself and Azul every week, be sure to check out those bonus episodes. My name is Chip Ritchie, joined here as always by my friend and co-host Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing? How has your week been?
Pretty good. Same old. Last couple weeks, just a lot of content. I did restream the Lille Regional Championships over the weekend, which was fun. Day one, I was not able to. I woke up at 1 a.m. and I watched the first 4 rounds. I believe they started in round 3, and then it was Cloth versus Raging Bolt. I think was the round. I just tapped out. I was like, I'm so tired, but it was enough of a, adjustment, I guess, that I was, like, completely fine day 2. Like, I stayed up I was basically up for 24 hours on Sunday, so I woke up at 1 a.m. and I went to bed at midnight, so I was up for, like, basically 24 hours, but it didn't feel yeah, it didn't hit me at all. Um, Got a little bit of caffeine involved and was able to cruise through the whole day, restream all of day 2. That was fun. Had a good time with that. What about you, Chip? How was your week? Did you tune into any of the games over the weekend from Lil?
Yeah, I watched a couple. I was out doing a few things this weekend. Watched a lot of football this weekend as well, as always in the Ritchie household. Also, yesterday went to the North Carolina State Fair, which is in town for the next week. A classic every single year. Got to go check out the State Fair right down the road. It was a lot of fun. Ate some deep fried food. Saw a bunch of animals. It's a good time.
Time. I can't even remember the last time I went to, like, a fair or something. Now you mentioned it, I don't even know where I went to, like, well, it's not really a fair, outings like that. Yeah, but my life has just been consumed by Pokemon. Like, anything outside of my house for content was usually just traveling to Pokemon tournaments. I guess now I do have more time specifically for that kinda stuff, but, yeah, I haven't been to anything recently. I went to the farmer's market. Uh, I'm going to the farmer's market regularly to get stuff there. I don't know, farmer's
Oh,
markets
that's
are
nice.
cool.
That's a good spot to get some like fresh produce and stuff and support like local
Yeah,
farmers and stuff
yeah,
as well. It's
yeah.
good
I've
vibes.
been buying some of my vegetables there for my meal prepping instead of the grocery store, so
Nice. I guess I can show this picture of one thing I ate. I had a Korean oh hang on, you can't see this. Let me share it so you can see it as well.
oh, yeah.
Um a Korean corn dog, which I don't really know what makes it Korean, but they call it a Korean corn dog. Maybe it's like the type of way that it's fried, but it's like it's a weenie in cheese as well
Yeah.
inside the corn dog fried. Is that what makes it Korean? The fact that the cheese is added in there?
That's what they do. I've had them before. I know what you're saying. It's usually it's like a hot dog. It's basically like a mozzarella stick with a hot dog in the middle.
Yeah.
There's, like, quite a bit of cheese. There's a lot of cheese involved.
I will say this one was a little
Alright.
disappointing though. If you're looking at the screen, it was like this half of it was the cheese and this half of it was the weenie. It wasn't like,
Oh, makes yeah.
yeah. So
Usually they're quite a bit the ones that I've had are, like, quite a bit bigger, and then it's, like, literally, like, surrounded by cheese. It's like a hot dog. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
basically a big mozzarella stick with a hot dog in the middle of it. They're my from the ones I've had, they're okay. It's, like, too much going on, not
I mean,
yeah,
this one tasted really good. I just wish that it had been more combined, you know?
more weenie with
Um,
cheese.
more weenie with cheese. Yeah, that's what we're after out here. Um, I couldn't find the one thing. I have like this one annual like thing that I get every single year. It's like my true moment of like obese weakness, and it's called a Twinks, which is a Twix shoved inside a Twinkie, wrapped in bacon, and deep fried.
In the bacon as well?
Dude,
Sheesh.
it's so good. It's insane. But I couldn't find it this year because the booth that normally has them, that I normally get them, was not there.
Unlucky.
It's like my one thing I get every single year, and I didn't get it this year. Real sad.
That does sound pretty good, to be honest.
It was pretty
Right.
it is normally pretty dang good.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely worth trying.
had to settle for the Korean corn dog though this time.
Unlucky. What'd you
It
say
was
it was
fun to
called? The
take
tw
Samuel and stuff too though, to see, like, all the animals and stuff. He thought
Yeah.
that the because they, like, show a bunch of animals, but then there also is, like, a competition or something as well that goes on where they're, like, trying to find, like, the biggest cow in the state or something. Like, I don't know what the details of the competition are. It's, like, what I want to believe the competition is. But they were showing a bunch of cows, and they were just, like, jet black, all entirely 100% black cows, and when we saw them, he pointed and he went, "Bear!" I was like, "No, buddy, it's not a bear, it's a cow."
It's a cow. That's funny.
But yeah.
Alright, yeah, sounds good. Well, less eventful weeks than we've had in the past, but we still got some stuff to talk about this week for what went down, and let's start off with the tournament structure updates. I think last time we talked about it last week was, we're talking about the idea of, like, the potential problem, I guess, with the current tournament structure. I think my biggest complaint, kind of from the outside looking in, because I haven't been to any major tournaments this year, is just like the idea that X2 doesn't make asymmetrical cuts. Felt really weird watching that play
Yeah.
out at Louisville. It didn't happen here at Lille. Everyone who was X and 2 made cut at Lille. It was only a 9-person cut,
Yeah.
and I said this last week, and this should be probably true for the rest of the season. It'll only affect like 5% of tournaments or something like that. It'll
Yeah.
be a pretty low percentage. Like 95% of tournaments plus X2 will make cut. But it feels like if there's a way to improve it for that 5%, because it sounds like Louisville was pretty mid experience at the end of day two.
Yeah, I think it's just, people are competing and putting themselves out there. They want a shot to win this thing, and they feel kind of slighted by the fact that they did everything they could once they're in day 2, right? Winning 4 games in a row, and it wasn't enough to get into top cut. I think that ultimately feels like is the biggest issue. But then around this as well, it does feel like a lot of people have kind of just come to the conclusion of like, why did we change the system at all? Like the system, I don't think was that bad before. I think the
Yeah.
main complaints people had, I mean, it just always stunk when you bubbled out either of Top Cut or like bubbling out of money as well. Bubbling out of money hasn't changed. And bubbling out of Top Cut, it doesn't happen anymore with asymmetrical cut, but it's almost like more rounds of single elimination are replacing what we had before, which was more rounds of Swiss. And it feels like kind of now that people have experienced it, people are starting to think, we kind of had it decently the way it was before.
Yeah, I actually don't remember. I think my when I initially saw the new changes, I was like, okay, it's interesting. I like the idea of asymmetrical cut. I
Yeah.
didn't really have like a strong opinion. I don't remember if anyone really had super strong opinions in the moment post announcement. At least that not that I can remember that I saw. Um, so maybe most people were kind of on the same wavelength. But like, yeah, I didn't think about it too hard. But I think definitely some people have been thinking about it harder as of late. And I do agree with like the general uh take and statement that you just said, where it's like more rounds is probably better, but you can only play so many rounds. So my kind of assumption behind why they made these changes was like they felt it was necessary or they felt it was better to have more potential top cut rounds and less Swiss rounds at these major events to just make them work logistically, right? That's
Mhm.
kind of what I just kind of assumed. Um, But then, like but then we had this tweet here from Chris Brown, which made me kind of, like, second guess everything. So for anyone who doesn't know, Chris Brown is, in his Twitter bio, director and global esports and events producer at Pokemon. And he put out this tweet, "Reading opinions on day 2 of regionals, listening to feedback, but there is a conflict. Have more players, 10%, make day 2. Allow more competition for the deeper prizes, and and is accomplishment to shoot for, and is an
Yeah.
accomplishment to shoot for."
Yeah, I
My
think he's limited by the 140 characters of Twitter here.
okay. Have only players that can make top cut make day 2. I don't. It just like okay. My assumption was that Pokemon made these changes to the Swiss system because they thought it was either better for the community, like they thought the players would like this new system more, or they thought that this was necessary for tournaments to run smoothly, currently or in the future, like kind of pre-planning.
Yeah, for like
Um,
potentially like larger events or something like that, right?
yeah, but now I'm not sure. Did they just like make the change and then we're like, let's just do something new, and didn't think about what happens with the new system? That's what got me second guessing that thought process when I saw this tweet. I was like, well, what does TPCI think? Now that's what I want to. Do they think why did they make this change? Do they think it would be better in terms of logistics? Do they think it would be better because they thought the community would like it more? What is the what is the reason? I just don't know. I just don't get why they made the change now. If
Yeah,
they're
because
thinking about, like because this makes it seems like they are discussing the idea of a change, which isn't a bad thing. It's not bad to change it, but why did they change it to begin with? What was their reason is now what I'm questioning.
yeah, because the two things he points out here, have more players make day 2 and have only players that can still make top cut make day 2, uh, both of those things were true in the old system, right? More people made day 2, and granted, you would if you came in at 6-2-1, you would have to go 6-0 to guarantee cut. But you still had a chance, right? You
Yeah.
could still make top cuts. And yeah, as Smart points out here in this very first reply, Andrew Hedrick went into day 2 of NAIC at 6-2-1 and then did end up winning the whole event.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, you still had a route to get there. It was definitely a long route, and, like, I think if we could take last year's system and add asymmetrical cut, that would be good. I think asymmetrical cut is, like, pretty good overall from what I've seen this season. I like that it
I don't
exists,
think that
but
the 2 will exist at the same time.
yeah, probably logistically, they probably can't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, logistically, they probably can't exist, which is fine. Like, ideally, you would have more you go to a 7th round, and then an 8th round, and then so on and so forth, right? Just more rounds theoretically is better, but you can't have infinite rounds. And I don't know, my thoughts on what a solution would be is just like make it so all X2s make cut. Basically, make asymmetrical cut extend down to X and twos. That's what I mentioned last week. And my initial impression was like I'm kind of meeting TPCI halfway with that fix, right? Because it's like if they truly want the potential for more top cut rounds, but less Swiss rounds, whatever their reasoning is for that, it's like okay, we're fine with that, but then just give us X2 makes asymmetrical cut, and that it's only going to affect like 5% of tournaments that are going to have to like make that adjustment, right? Like I said, 95% of them X2 is going to make cut anyways, so just make it a better experience for that 5%. But now that they put out this tweet and there's so much discussion around it, it feels like they don't know why. I just feel lost in this now because it feels like they don't know why they changed the system. Like, like I don't know why. I don't know what it is. This tweet makes me feel lost because it's like there's like this big discussion around it, but it'd just be really nice to know why TPCI made the change in the beginning. But I don't think they ever really said like why they thought it would be better moving forward. They were just like, these are the new changes for the new season moving forward, and then gave us the information.
Yeah, I do think it would be nice if this tweet provided more information, right? And like I said, based on kind of the way some of these things are worded, I think Chris Brown here is trying to like fit it all into the limited characters of one tweet, right? Like, let's someone at Pokemon, let's just buy Chris Twitter Premium or whatever, so he can make a longer post, and we can see all of the thoughts out there, right? I do think it would be, yeah, this level of like, I mean, it is nice to know like they are listening, and we did talk about last week how there is precedent for them to like make adjustments to the tournament structure because when tournaments came back from COVID, the pandemic and everything, there was an issue with like the VG tournament structure. They changed it. And the VG community was very happy. They had a couple tournaments that went poorly, they changed it. So yes, very good to see that they are listening. They are talking about it, right? Listening to feedback. And yeah, it's like the something is trying to be communicated here, right? But it just doesn't feel like we have all the of what is wanting to be put across. I don't know.
Yeah, and there definitely is. It's like depends on what the change is. It feels like not everyone's in advocating for more rounds or going back to the old system.
Yeah.
I saw I think it was Liam Halburn and Xander Perot both say as a reply on this post, like, I don't want to play 15 rounds. Like that's basically what they said. I don't want to ever play 15 rounds ever again. So there's some people who don't want to play the higher round count
Yeah.
overall. And I don't know if a higher round count is necessarily a solution for sure. But that really just comes down to what TPCI wants. But it seems like they don't know what they want now at this point. That's like the vibe I get from Chris Brown's tweet. So I mean, I guess keep giving feedback, keep submitting support tickets with
Yeah.
your ideas and thoughts, or replying to tweets like this from someone like Chris Brown, and then hopefully something changes that we can most people in the community would agree is like an improvement on the current system. I think that's all we can really hope for at this point. And maybe they'll hit us. Maybe they'll come at us with a little bit more communication. Maybe through Chris Brown specifically, or even like I don't know, some kind of post on like the Play Pokemon Twitter, or like an article post on the site or whatever. Just something.
Hmm. And there was one other kind of cool thing separate from this that we saw this week, also posted by Chris. Just shared some numbers from regional championships over the last few seasons, including pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic. Yeah, like we talk about all the time how like the game is growing, and you know, we joke on the broadcast as well about, oh, it's another tournament that's the largest tournament of all time. Because that just seemed like last season, it seemed like every single event, it was the largest tournament of all time. But seeing like it in visual form here, dating back to 2019 all the way up to 2025, this is the North American Regional TCG average number of players checked in. Back in 2019 and 2020, around 600 players. And then 2022, we came back from the pandemic. It was around the same, 600 ish players. And then since then, it's just been skyrocketing,
Yeah.
80% increase season over season almost, it looks
And
like.
I think if you go back to those, like the 2019, 2020, were events even capping aggressively in those years?
No, no.
Yeah. So that's like another thing to kind of add to that. And this season, it hasn't been super aggressive with all the events. Like I think Louisville sold out pretty quick. A couple of the European ones have and haven't sold out very quick. You can maybe, I don't actually know. Could I go register for Gdansk right now, or
Like, I
am I
know
registered for Gdansk?
Dortmund never sold out, but
Yeah,
Lille sold out almost instantly.
yeah. Those sold out pretty quickly. Pretty
Um,
small event cap on that one.
and then, like, I don't think Baltimore sold out right away. I don't think,
Just yeah, eventually though.
Louisville didn't sell out, like, instantly, but it sold out within, like, couple minutes, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it sold out, like,
I could go
in
register for
seconds.
Gdansk. I could go register for Gdansk right now if I
Are
wanted
you
to.
are you going to?
No. Although, uh, I've been making a meme recently, doing my part to prevent Europeans from winning one of their own majors. Um, I feel
We'll
like
talk, yeah. We can talk about that more when we talk about the results of Lille this past
yeah.
weekend. It
Yeah,
is
these are cool.
definitely a good meme.
Yeah, these are cool numbers to see for sure, just how much the game has grown. It kind of maybe puts it into perspective for some players, or like what the organizers have to deal with and TPCI has to deal with on their end to keep things moving. Like that's like these are just like these are like not average, or these are not percentage increases that you expect to deal with in any like growing business year over year, and it can be hard to adjust and accommodate for that so aggressively sometimes. So, and the numbers could definitely be higher, especially in Europe, right? They have like last season everything capped out pretty quickly, except for maybe a couple of the events. So like these numbers that we're seeing here aren't really what's the word I'm looking for? Represent a good representation of how much bigger the game is actually bigger than these numbers for sure. But maybe not by a whole ton. We're probably reaching like in the US here, it feels like we're reaching the upper limits of how many people are actually going to show up to these regional championships. In Europe, it's a little bit harder to gauge. But even like you said, Dortmund didn't cap. I can go register for Gdansk right now if I wanted to. So we are reaching the upper limits of what is possible, I guess,
Yeah.
for players
So
showing up.
So yeah, definitely cool to see. I do love to see the kind of communication, and I think this is something like from TPCI to Pokemon, the community that like has been. Uh, this is like something that I think is just a net positive for basically everyone, right? TPCI gets to kind of explain their decision making a little bit, in theory, right? And
Yeah.
then the community gets to kind of have a peek into that transparency, or like a peek into that process more so, which I think is just a net positive all around.
Yeah, definitely. It would definitely be just nice to see more of that. And I think a lot of companies just don't realize this, like how little they have to communicate for the community to be like satisfied with
Yeah.
the community. They have to communicate so little. You have to say so little to satisfy the community in terms of communication. Like it's not I think I don't know, maybe companies are afraid of if they start, having that form of communication that it becomes expected and but yeah, they just need to do so little. You need to do so little. Like this stuff from Chris Brown was great to like hear, even if it left me confused as to where do they plan to go from here or why did they even make the changes to begin with? But even that is like something and gives us something to kind of look at and go off of to know that they are paying attention and putting some thought into, possible changes.
All right, next up, let's take a look at a few of these new cards. So, the newest set did just come out in Japan. We talked last week about Surging Sparks. We know what the full set list is. Pokemon put it out. But with the new set coming out, of course, Japan is teasing the next set a little bit. And the first piece of teasing for that is this new EVEX from Terrestrial Festival. This will be in our like January, February set, I guess, right?
January, yeah.
January. And it has the ability Rainbow DNA. You can play Pokemon EX that evolve from Eevee on top of this Pokemon to evolve it.
Yeah. So we had what'd you say? You mentioned it to me earlier. We had what an EVGX that was basically the exact same thing, the exact same card.
Yes, I do believe that EVGX, though, could also have Pokemon put on top of it that evolved from Eevee.
So just any of the so you could actually go to a lower HP Pokemon. I
Yes.
actually talked about that earlier or the other day on my stream. I was like, has there ever been a Pokemon where you just like you lose HP when you evolve?
Yeah. So you would go from you could do anything that evolved from Eevee, and the way it was worded like this, I think, at this time because all GX Pokemon like Flareon GX evolved from Eevee, right?
Yeah. You could
Um,
still use any of those.
yeah.
Yeah, this one is it's interesting. The other EV is really good. We have the other EV coming out in Surging Sparks that if it's in the active, it can evolve on the first turn or the turn you play it. But it does have 60 HP
Yep.
and doesn't have built-in bench barrier. This thing's got 200 HP, so your energy is going to be a little bit safer there, or the potential for your opponent to not get a cheap one prize knockout is going to be easier to avoid.
Yep.
And then it has the bench barrier protection through the terrestrial attribute. Its attack probably not too good for a fire, water, lightning, 200 damage. That's whatever, but that would be like the benefits of playing this EV over the other one. And I feel
Yeah.
like
And
we're
like
probably going to be getting.
you can play a deck now that has effectively 8 Eevee in it, right?
Oh yeah, that as well. Yeah, I forgot about that. You can play 8 EVs.
Yes. So like
So
we could have a full on evolution deck, right? Like if there's a Flareon and Vaporeon that like can synergize well enough together, you can play a 8-4-4 line of your like your engine or whatever, right?
yeah, that would actually be really cool if that was a deck. If there's enough good evolutions to actually have 8 EV,
Dude,
4 EVX and 4 EV in your deck.
I did a video on a deck back when EVGX came out. Let me see if I can find it real quick and see what the deck list looked like at least. Uh, I remember like the deck was not great, obviously, but like it synergized and worked well enough together. I think like I played a game with it in the video I did and got a win. But I remember one of them like this. There was like there was no good Sylveon or something like that to put in the deck. So like I literally added one just like to say that it had all the evolutions. Oh, it was a Mewtwo deck. Yeah, it was a Mewtwo deck, so that made it even. It was like barely an EV deck, I guess.
Wait, are you sharing it on the screen? I can't see
I'm
it.
about to. Hang on, I
Oh,
gotta.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here it is. I play TV reporter in this deck. There we go. Look at how ridiculous that looks on TCG Live. A 3 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 of all the EVs and then 2 EVGX broken.
Now
I'm
we're
just the best
talking.
deck builder in the game. There you go.
Yeah, you solved it. That's insane. Chip, congratulations. You win.
But listen, ahead of time giving you free content for when EVEX comes out.
I mean, if it's good, I'll play it. If it's
No, no, it's not. It doesn't have to be good.
to be fun at least. I don't
Yeah,
just want to sit there and lose over and over with my quad EV deck or what is 8? How do you say 8? It's whatever 8 is. Octa EV deck.
Octa EV deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I believe in you, dude. You can do it.
See, we'll see.
But yeah, definitely an interesting one. We'll see kind of what the EV evolutions do as they get revealed. There's already ones that exist in the format, obviously. Um, that's the only card we know from Terrestrial Festival, but they did also drop these new starter decks that are coming out. They are called the I think it was on Poke Beach, like the 18 or what is it? EX starter deck generations is what they're called. Um, and one of the cool things that they're doing with this is there is now going to be a professor's research for all the professors. All of the professors from the history of the Pokemon video games can now be represented as Pokemon as professor's research if you want it to in your TCG deck.
Yeah. And the big thing with these is that they are all regulation mark G. So they when the current professor's researches rotate,
Yep.
uh, these will also all rotate as well. So I think that's a pretty good indication that we're probably done with professor's research 2 rotations from now.
If they wanted to print one with an H regulation mark, it probably would have been done right here.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's like good or bad that we have research or don't. Honestly, research hasn't been like that played of a card since it actually has returned to the game. Like maybe it, yeah, because we like Arvin and stuff has been like almost the more powerful setup
Yeah.
card in most decks. SADA, right? Like decks can't play SADA and research usually. So it hasn't been like
More
every deck playing for research, which has been nice.
More recently, at least. There's definitely been times where there was, like, a lot of research index, I think, in the last couple years, but not definitely like, there's been 2 really big blocks where it hasn't been, and I would say it's, like, most recently, like, the last 6 months or so, we haven't really seen too much research. And then there's, like, the block where there was just shady dealings in Tellian, right? Because you
Yeah.
didn't wanna research away your hand, you wanted to build your hand, you wanted to, you're not looking for you're searching out your combo pieces as opposed to having to just like discard your hand, draw into them. I think an important question here, Azul, is which Professor Research are you playing?
I don't know, whichever one I have currently.
Such a boring answer, man. At least
But you did
fake it, you know?
they did reprints of the ones we currently have as well, right? Like these are all
Yeah, I actually
yeah.
looking at this, it made me realize we have a lot of professors already as Professor's Research. We have Professor Oak, we have Rowan, we have Juniper, we have Magnolia, and we have Sada. So we have half of these already.
Yeah, so only give us maybe yeah, I don't know, whatever one I currently have, that's it.
So
What
lame, man.
do you have a fake chip? Do you
Dude, let's
have a
go.
favorite new research that you'll be rocking?
Professor Birch fans, stand up right now. Let's get it.
That's the one.
All about Professor Birch, dude. He's the professor for the best generation of games. He also when I first started playing the game, this card was played in decks, Professor Birch's observations.
Well, I don't know about plate index.
It was, dude. It literally
Who
was.
is
There
playing
was
this?
huh? A lot of people.
And what? What decks were playing this?
So many decks.
Dude, I think you're oh, wait, is it like was that the Birch versus Shauna era?
Yes, yes.
And Birch was technically better?
Yes, that's literally exactly it.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
with top 8 US nationals, let's get it. 1 copy.
Dude. Well, okay, people weren't play like, why is that even in there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Play
It
another end. What are
probably
we
should have just
doing?
been a 4th end. Yeah,
Was there a matchup where you wanted to be able to shuffle draw, but not shuffle draw your opponent?
I
Maybe
will
that
say
existed.
when I clicked on it was mostly through, like
Expanded was like, I feel like we're
no,
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 this
it was mostly through it was, like because I started playing the very, like it was, like, the start of the 2016 season. So, rotation had just happened and N had rotated. So, it was like cities format. The only draw supporters in the game were Sycamore, Birch, and Shauna were the only draw supporters in the whole game. So, there was like it was like during cities. It was before there was like regionals uh spread out throughout the year. It was like there would be like one weekend where there was regionals in multiple places, right? Or like 3 there would be like fall regionals and then spring regionals, right? Where there was
yeah,
like
yeah.
2 or 3 week span where there was regionals that happened across the country and that was it. And then it was broken up into like the city's time frame and the state's time frame as well, like throughout the season. It was during cities people played Birch because there was no other option. So it's not going to be logged like on Limitless anywhere. But if you looked at like because I don't even know what tournaments happened, it would have been like the X and Y to uh yeah, they like don't even have it here on Limitless. It would have been X and Y through breakthrough format.
I don't know, Chip. You might be losing it a little bit. There's no proof of this.
Someone out there,
You
please back me up.
need like people to pull like League Cup winning deck list tweets with pictures of their deck list to prove
City championships, bro. City
city
champion.
championships. Wait, was the city championship still back then when you started
Yeah.
playing? I thought it was all
Yeah,
League
that
Cups
was
at
it
that
was the
point.
last year of city championships when I started playing.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Birch is all in your mind, Chip. Birch is all in your
I
mind.
promise. I promise. I'm not crazy.
I got tails so often, bro. I remember this. I only drew 4.
I don't remember this, but I remember Grant. Grant has told this story because it was like the first weekend of tournaments I went to. It was a kind of like mini city championship marathon, and I played Grant in both days of the tournament, and I don't remember the exact sequence. He's told me the story before, but pretty much like the only way he lost one of the games was due to him flipping heads on Birch, I think. 'Cause, like, he needed to flip tails to not deck out so he had more time, and he flipped heads and drew too many cards. It was something like that.
Insane.
Yeah.
What matchup was that ever? What do you remember a deck you were
It
playing?
was
Now I'm like
he
curious.
I was playing Giratina Vileplume, which was like that was the first deck I built and
Yeah.
played at tournaments, and then he was playing Turbo, Reshiram,
Tina.
Roaring Skies. You remember that deck?
Yeah, that deck was kind of cool. It was a Tina deck, right? It was like Reshiram Tina or something.
Yeah.
That's
Little
what
Reshiram this
there was
guy.
some honestly, that's like now that you like brought that up, there were some interesting formats that get kind of lost because they never got played at major tournaments.
Right.
But now we don't have that anymore. Like there's a ton of major tournaments for like every format. So
There's a
like
major
every
tournament every other week.
yeah. So major tournaments like get fleshed out way more. But yeah, this Reshiram was pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. You played it with Tina, right? It was like a Tina. Was there any other dragons you played in there?
Yeah, it played like Hydreigon, I think, because it gave you free retreat.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hydreigon EX. Anyone who's listening and not like looking at the cards on screen is totally lost. If you didn't play back then, so we apologize, but
Yeah.
um it was a fun time. I don't know. I look back at that nostalgically, and it might just be because it's like when I started playing, right? Rose tinted glasses, so to say.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that's like kind of an era of the game, like just that the way the meta kind of progressed through local tournaments as opposed to like on this more global scale was kind of cool. And it's like something that's kind of lost nowadays, which is a little bit of a shame.
The information share is just so high. It's like not possible for that. I don't guess more. I mean, not more. Maybe more natural. Like I don't even know development to even like happen. Right.
It's more aggressive for sure, right?
Yeah. And it's like everyone knows about it. There's not like I feel like there was even times where like a deck would be unknown until like a group of players brought it to a regional championship, and then it would be like that's when everyone would pick up on it. It's like so much harder to do that nowadays.
Yeah,
Not
when is the
impossible,
last time
but
that even happened? Someone brings an unknown archetype to an event, like a testing group.
uh, it's usually just like cool innovations on current
Existing
builds for
decks,
the
yeah.
most part. I mean, I'm sure there it exists. I'm trying to like think of. I can't think of something
I guess
specific.
William last season with William and Pedro with like the Charizard, right? But like
Yeah,
it was
Pidgeysarn.
like it was mostly just an optimization on a deck everyone knew was good, right?
That's a good example, I think.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know. I feel like sometimes it would be like people show up with a deck and like people didn't know this card existed before the tournament, right? Like that doesn't happen anymore.
yeah, that definitely doesn't happen
Like,
anymore.
wasn't
That's
there
true.
like there was like a Tyrantrum deck that popped up at regionals at one point that was like a totally unknown thing because it was like a promo card. Nobody even knew it
Oh, it was
existed.
like the Tyrantrum EX
Yeah.
Bronzong deck. That deck was
Yeah.
bad though. That deck wasn't actually good. It was bad. The deck was okay. There he is. He hit hard.
He do be hitting hard.
You also like played you played Tina in there and other stuff. Um,
Let's get back to the main topic here, I guess.
New cards.
The new cards. Let's keep it
Any new
rolling.
researches, and then hopefully. I mean, I honestly, yeah, like I said, research didn't even feel like it hasn't felt like that. It hasn't. It doesn't feel like a tired supporter. You know, like so at some point you're just like, I'm playing N for my thousandth time. Here we go. But like research is like there's just so many decks in the format that just don't play research. Is there even a deck right now that plays for research in it in the current format?
I don't
Oh,
think so. No.
Drago, Reggie Drago, and Lugia. Hold up. They exist. They exist. Yeah, Reggie Drago and Lugia. Um, that's it though. Everyone else has like some other form. Some of them play like a research, like Terrapagos plays a researcher too, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel tired, right? The gameplay. It's not like I play research, you play research, I play research, you play research, right? So yeah. But I don't hate to see it go, I guess, either. Like, switching things up is never a bad thing.
A lot of the Pokemon that are from these starter decks are pretty underwhelming, and I guess it makes sense, right? They are starter deck Pokemon for the most part, but there are some kind of unique things in here. So let's talk about a few of them. And I think probably the biggest one that's generated the most discussion is this Blaziken EX, a 320 HP Stage 2 Fire type Pokemon with 2 retreat cost. It is weak to water, and it has the ability Seething Spirit. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. And then its attack for a fire and colorless Burning Salto. I don't know if that's what it'll translate to. Is 200 damage, and then this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. This is
Yeah,
an effect on an ability that I don't believe has ever existed before.
I'm not sure. And for everyone who's curious, we'll be getting the cards we're reading as well as like the EV in our January set. It should all be coming together in the January set, I would imagine. Um, yeah, we never had anything quite like that. It goes from the discard pile, any basic energy to any Pokemon,
Yep.
which that's like the biggest deal because you can put it on the active, which I don't think people understand how big of a deal that is sometimes until you like play with decks that can only attach the energy to the bench Pokemon. And
Yep.
it becomes so much harder to make things function. It's definitely interesting. To stage 2, it only gets 1 energy per
Yep.
turn. I mean, you could set up multiple. I don't know what you'd play it with exactly.
I
I
mean,
don't think it'll be great, but
I know what my first thought was.
but
Pikachu EX.
let's do it. Lock them in. Blaziken Pikachu. I can see it.
Blazichu.
Yeah, I can see it. That's a combo right there.
I mean, I think that's
Sure.
the thing that almost makes the most sense, right? It would be like a type of deck like that, where you have a basic attacker that discards its energy for the effect of its attack, most likely, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't like Blaziken as an attacker isn't going to be doing enough. It's like okay, 200 damage for 2 is fine, but it's really not doing any that. It's not enough these days, right? Um, it's like efficient, decent damage output, but not enough on its own. And you don't want to be setting it up alongside another stage 2. It's like not strong enough to really like because its energy acceleration is powerful, but it's not like consistency. It's not draw power, right? So it's like you can set up Pidgeot alongside something like Charizard EX because the Pidgeot helps you get all your pieces, right? But trying to set Blaziken up alongside some other evolving attacker, say Charizard, for example. Obviously, you wouldn't pair it with Charizard, but maybe like Charizard from what's it called? The other set, the 151 Charizard EX, right? That does a gajillion damage for 4 energy cards and then discards the energy. Right? It's just too much to set that many stage 2s up. But you can manage to set up 1 or 2 of this guy while you have like an attacking basic Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a powerful ability. On a stage 2 is probably a little bit slow. Is there another good Blaziken? That's what I'm actually
Ooh,
curious. Is there like any other? Yeah, that is still hard to make all that function off of one line. Um, like making that function off of one or just you only have 4 Torchic
there
to
are
work
no
with.
legal Blaziken right now.
Okay, maybe they'll print another one in this set. Maybe there'll be another Blaziken to work with alongside the EX. Maybe not.
We've got a Bronzong here with the ability Protective Ball. Your Pokemon take 10 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So you could theoretically get 4 Bronzong in play. You're taking minus 40, but
And
minus
then you
40
can
isn't that much these days.
and then you can seed and pack it up.
Then you have
Yeah,
4
that's right.
Bronzong on your bench.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I don't know, maybe there's like some weird tank deck where you could set up 4 of these plus an assault or is it assault vest? Which one is it?
Defiance Vest.
Defiance vest. You're taking minus 80. There's something that get Radiant Sabrina involved, but I don't know what's like big enough that we'd want to set up. Is it Heatran's time? Heatran VMAX?
You always go back to the Heatran.
Is this illegal? It is, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right, I'm down.
Let's get it. We've got the Lilligant here, the ability Sunny Day. The attacks of your grass Pokemon and fire Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon.
Yeah, so this one seems like a cool. I don't know. It's like it eating up the bench space is kind of. tough. It seems like it would be like a card that'd be included in like a grass or fire deck as like a tech card for a matchup or a couple matchups where you just come up a little bit short, against a couple of specific Pokemon, and you're just like, if I can just do 20 more damage over throughout the game on 3 or 4 attacks, I can win from guaranteed losing. And if they go chase it, it's only a one prizer, so maybe you gain like just tempo that way. So I could
Yeah.
see it being good for that reason, but I don't know, maybe in some kind of Terra deck as well, you could put down 2 or 3 of them, right? I don't know what Terra deck would, take advantage of this, what Grass and Fire Terra Pokemon are out there that would actually be able to use this.
Yeah, this exact ability has existed in the past. It was on a Lurantis promo card that did see very fringe play. You can find it here on Limitless, and we can look back and see like it was played a little bit in some other Lurantis decks. I was actually going to make a joke that you had won a regionals with this exact card, but then I
Yeah,
looked at it and realized you didn't play the the other
no.
Lurantis, probably because it was not very good. But it popped up every once in a while. You see, like in this Zoroark Glisopod deck that Ian used to win a regional championships back in, I guess, 2018. This would have been.
Dude.
He played a couple of these.
It's just ridiculous that he won this tournament with a 2/2 Lurantis in there. It's just I mean, the deck was that good, I guess, I don't know, like, it's criminal.
Zoropod
Uh,
was very good. The Laurantis
and
was.
and Joe
Ooh,
Rudiger got playing the same 6, he got top 8. There was 2 of them in top 8. How, dude? This deck is terrible. The 2/2 Lurantis is so bad in here.
I wonder what Ian would
It's
say
so
about the
funny.
Laurantis
I
these
think he
days.
I think he agrees it was not very good. Zoropod was good. Zoropod with Lurantis was
Yeah.
questionable.
And then look at this. Someone got top 16 at a Korean League final season with this in their Reshizard
Ooh.
deck. It is kind of the cool effect of this ability. It works with fire Pokemon or grass Pokemon.
Now this seems how much did, Rushie's Art hit for again? This actually seems kinda decent.
230.
Yeah, so that gets you up to the 280 number to KO like an opposing Rushie's Art with a choice
Yep.
belt, right?
With a choice
Choice
band.
band.
Yep.
Yeah. Now this is what I'm talking about. This makes
That's some
sense.
math fixing.
Yeah, that's some math fixing. And what's it pod? I don't know, but
We've got a Sylveon here with the good old Safeguard ability, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX.
I think this is the best card that was revealed out of this batch of cards. Like Safeguard, all EX, rotation's about to hit, V stars are about to be gone. Like, well, this comes out in January, rotation hits end of March, beginning of April. Like, I don't know, pretty good.
Has any Safeguard Pokemon ever not seen play at some point?
Um, no, I think like Miltank did here and there. Yeah, I think they all do.
These are the only ones that have the actual ability name Safeguard, Mimikyu, Carbink, Sigilyph, Suicune from like recent years. And these all saw play. And even some of these back looking at this, like this Wobbuffet was played, this Dustox EX was played. It wasn't very good, but you know, a lot of these were played back in their respective times as well. This Banette was
Yeah.
played as a one of. Um,
Suicune saw very little play. This weekend was not great, if I remember.
yeah.
Like, it did not see a ton of play. Like,
Most famously in the Wailord deck that Enrique Avila used to get second place at US Nationals, but that was Suicune's time to shine. Was that deck?
it was funny. Built leading up to that card's release. I had a friend who uh we didn't fully understand how the card interacted with everything yet. It wasn't out yet, so it was like um a pre-set release card thing, and it was being hyped up with Manectric, Mega Manectric. But it prevents all effective attacks, including done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. So you can't accelerate to Suicune with Manectric. I remember some people like showed up to city championships playing this card in their Mega Manectric deck, like when it first released, and you can't do that.
That's actually so insanely funny. For those who don't know Mega Manectric's attack, Turbo Bolt, I think is what it was called. When you attack,
Yeah,
it did 110 damage, and then you accelerated 2 energy cards from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon. And because Suicune doesn't say by your opponent's Pokemon EX, it just says
yeah.
by Pokemon EX.
And I wonder if that was maybe a mistranslation because that is like really weird that it says that. It usually doesn't.
Well,
Maybe they were
during
trying to stop
this
that
time of the
interaction.
game, they did say that.
Oh, really?
Like Sigilyph says Pokemon EX.
Oh, it
Um,
does. Yeah,
and then like bench barrier Mr. Mime from Plasma Freeze says, prevent damage by Pokemon, right? So
that's
like it
true.
protects your bench from your own damage, bench damaging attacks. But then, like with the XY era, they kind of updated it. So you see Carbink here, same ability, but it's by your opponent's Pokemon EX.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even, like, realize there was that eventual, like, transition to, like, more so leaning towards your opponent than just Pokemon, but
I guess there's been there a fair share of like stage two safeguard esque Pokemon that haven't been very good. Like
Decidueye, Aegislash right now
yeah,
is
Aegislash
one.
right now. There's like the Kling Clang. That Kling Clang was pretty good at one point, right?
Yeah.
Um
Well, the Klinklang, what how did that work? It was for everything with a metal energy, anything that had a metal energy.
yeah, it protected anything. How do you spell this? Clink Clang? Yeah,
Uh,
Clink Clang. Plasma Steel. All damage done to your metal Pokemon by attacks from opponent's Pokemon EX. So yeah, yeah, one of the most powerful abilities in the game for sure. So hey, you know what? If we need a safeguarder in our 8 EV deck, this is the one,
yep,
right?
got one, yeah. And, like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to Mimikyu, but if you do set it up, it can hit a little bit harder, and it's got the biggest thing is probably the more natural HP. And it can, like, if you could play, like, a quad Sylveon safeguard deck, and you can pretty aggressively we have that EV that says if it's in your active, you can evolve with the turn that it's, your first turn or the turn it comes into play. So you can aggressively make your EVs into Sylveons.
Yeah. We've got a Tapu Koko EX. This one's pretty decent. It's a basic lightning type Pokemon. It does have free retreat, which is always a big plus on a basic Pokemon. It is weak to fighting, and its attack is Thunder Connector 60 plus for a lightning and a colorless. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon.
Yeah, so not as good as Raikou, doesn't have the fleet-footed, does have the free retreat, but rotation is hitting. And I think when rotation hits, if Miraidon is around, I mean, it'll be around. Whether or not it's good is the question. This would probably be in there, right? So it feels like almost like a Raikou replacement in Miraidon. Because a 2 energy attacker, that's like the big trade-off for Raikou most of the time.
Yeah.
They'll have Area Zero to work with as well. So
We do have an Alcremie
we
EX.
can skip the creamy. We can. I don't even
And
know why Twan translated that one.
then we've got Toad Scrool with the ability Forest Shortcut. While this Pokemon is on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 colorless less.
When's the so we've had a lot of Pokemon that have had very similar abilities. When was the last time there was like one that was played in a
It's been a while. So there's the current Hisuian Sneasler, which is like legal today. There is a Beware. There is a Dodrio. There's been several Dodrio that have this ability. Retreat
yeah?
Aid, usually what it's called or what it's been called before. Um,
Has it ever been good?
I don't think it has. Maybe like OG base set times, base jungle Dodrio Retreat Aid maybe could have been okay, but even then, like, and we're going all the way back to the beginning for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's this ability is like it's cool, and it's like the type of ability that it could be good, but it just hasn't ever really come up.
Yeah, it's just a lot to invest for just having free retreat, which so many other like your deck can naturally do that anyways by hard retreating, right? Attach energy, retreat. Every deck can already like retreat.
Yeah. So it had to be something that you like want to make sure you're saving the energy, or that you are planning to have whatever you send up not have energy on it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, those are the most impactful cards. Shout outs to Twan for the translations as always. And I'm sure we'll be getting more and more cards in the coming weeks. We do have the pre-release is actually starting this weekend for Surging Sparks. I think I'm going to try to go to one. Um, and then I would imagine in the next couple weeks, as the set starts to get revealed, as it's been a little bit longer over in Japan of them having the Surging Sparks cards, like we'll see more and more come out of the next set for them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's take a look at what they're doing with what is their they got supercharged breaker, right? That's what it is.
Supercharge breakers. So let's take a look at some City League results. Do some City League watch here. And yeah, this is the first weekend of the new set being legal. So there's a ton of tournaments in Japan. And we can look at some of the things that have done well. Uh, I don't know how big of a factor like card availability is, like how hard of a time do the people who want it have getting their hands on cards. I mean, I think to me, like one of the main things I'm looking at here is, what are the Pikachu EX decks looking like, right?
Yeah. We're seeing the
This
this one
one's
here
got
is a Blissey build.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening here.
There's a lot going on. So for
How are
anyone
we
who doesn't
getting
know, go ahead.
okay, never mind, continue.
Oh yeah, so Pikachu VX, you discard the energy when you attack, you do 300 damage, but there's a ton of different ways you could get the energy back. Magneton, Blissey, or Magneton, Glass Trumpet. This one is a Glass Trumpet Blissey build where you get it back with Glass Trumpet, then you Blissey it back to your Pikachu, and then you attack again with your Pikachu. So honestly, I don't hate this idea here. Generally, I think what you're trying to abuse as much with Pikachu as possible is the fact that its ability is really good. You're trying to make it so your opponent cannot just get free two prize knockouts off your side of the field. And Blissey is not invincible, but it's got 300 HP. So it's
Yeah.
better than something like, I don't know, Pheasantippides and stuff on your bench, right? So I kind of like the idea of the Blissey, to be honest. And this one is playing the carrier as well, the new A spec item card. Fill your bench. Just fill your bench with 5 Pokemon.
Yep, get all the dudes in play, including the Monkey Dory. The Monkey Dory is pretty interesting here. I guess you can set it up very easily because you can trumpet the energy onto a Blissey and then happy switch it over to the Monkey Dory.
Yeah.
Um,
You're only building up damage when your Pikachus are getting hit and not getting knocked out. But I mean, that's what you're hoping that happens anyways, right? You're hoping that happens at
yeah.
some point.
But I don't know like where that damage because in theory Pikachu is like knocking everything out, right? I guess like you probably do attack with Blissey sometimes with this deck, right?
Wait, Chip, what do you think Monkey Dory does?
Moves damage from your side to your opponent's side.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like stumped there for a second 'cause I thought you were saying, oh, you're saying, well, how are we utilizing that damage? Oh, I assume
Yeah,
it's
how
for
are we
Charizard
utilizing
and
that damage
Dragapult.
because your Pikachu is nuking everything?
Oh, just Charizard and Dragapult. I think we have one stadium in here, but it's like the easier way to get there, right? I thought
Yes.
you were talking about moving it on their side of the field. I was like, wait, what? No,
No,
you're right.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's just probably for Charizard and Dragapult. That's got to be it. Maybe Gardevoir as well. Like if they set up something to like knock a Blissey out, then you
Yeah.
can like return knock it out with the Dory.
Looking at this specific city league, just the first one I happened to click on as well, we do see an Archaludon EX deck that popped up here.
But this has to be so. There, I think they did win a city league. There is this list that has won a city league. It's got to be the same player though. I have to
Could be.
assume.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got this Luxray in here, which is a stage 2 that says if it's in your opening hand, you can set it up as your active when you're setting up. And then its attack, Seeking Fang, 50 damage for one colorless. Search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards, reveal them and put them in your hand. Shuffle your deck after.
I'm not sure about this Luxray, to be honest. This got me. I think Archaludon is cool. It's got the ability to accelerate energy into play onto your metal Pokemon. It does 220 for 3 metals, 300 HP on a stage 1. I don't know if Luxray is the partner though. But Luxray, I didn't even realize that card existed until I looked at this list earlier today when I was just on my stream looking at City League decks. And I was like, yeah, what? But yeah, the Luxray throws me off big time. I'm not sure about that guy.
It's definitely an
It's
interesting one.
funny. What was the last time? It was only Talonflame. Is Talonflame the only? Because we've had cards like that previously, whereas like if it's in your hand, you can start with it. Is Talonflame the only ever time there was one of them was good?
It's the main
Talonflame
one
and Greninja
I'm
Break.
thinking of. It's the only one I can think of at the moment, at least.
I remember there was a time back when we were playing. It's funny because you were just talking about how we were playing Birch when
Oh, you
rotation
don't think
hit.
that was happening though, apparently.
I mean, there's no proof of it, but I remember that when rotation hit, so Zoric was still legal, but rotation had hit, so we had lost like Bridget and stuff. So we were playing. What is the supporter card that finds 3 ball cards out of your deck?
Capricorn Maker, but
Yeah,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's worse than you remember because it only found 2 ball cards from your deck.
Oh my, not even ball guy status, bro. What the
No.
heck?
Yeah.
Um, I forget what deck it was, but people were playing the Manetric in some deck during League Cups at that time. There was a Manetric that said if you start with it in your hand. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what deck they were playing it. I forget what deck they were playing it in.
We'll see if we can click if that card ever got played in anything. The Electric Start Manectric does not have a limitless entry.
Oh, it's only if you went second too.
Wow. Yeah, this card is terrible.
Yeah, sheesh, that is awful. I wonder what deck they were playing it in. I don't remember.
What is this? Orangaroo Squawkabilly. Oh, cloth, of course. The 2 Pokemon on Limitless that were representing it were Orangaroo and Squawkabilly. And you click on it and it's
Oh my gosh. Yo, but Latios with Guru V? That's kinda sick.
Did you know that that's what this was gonna be
No,
when I
no,
clicked on
I
it?
did not.
Holy cow. Yeah, yeah, the guru with the Latios is nuts, actually, low key.
That's kinda cool, yeah.
You go get Sealstone plus something else.
Yeah, I think Latias is maybe the most powerful card in the set, to be honest. Like, the closer we get to the set releasing and thinking about everything, kinda seeing how it develops a little bit over in Japan, like
Wait, dude, no, Luxray plus Archaludon must just be a thing because someone got 15th at this City League with it as well.
what the heck? Is it just a thing? It's only 3. Wait, okay, why are we not playing 4 of them?
If we gotta start it, why are we not playing 4?
Yeah, why are we not playing 4? Because if you scroll up, it did win a City League, I believe. Yep, there it is.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe it won a couple, actually. I think it was a little bit higher
Wow,
up
the
for the
name
one
of
that I
this
saw.
store, the Wonder Goo City League.
Dude. Arcelodon would win the Wonder Goose City League. It is, like, the same build, too.
Wait, let's see. And it looks like it's a different name as well. The
Yeah.
player's name is different.
I don't think they track City Leagues on Limitless, so if you clicked on the name, I don't think it would pop up. Or would
No,
it?
I don't think so.
Oh, it did.
That's this one, is it not?
I know it did, but the City Leagues are being tracked on Limitless.
Yeah, but I don't know. Oh, hold up.
Hold up.
I guess
Ben
so.
cooking with Lugia. Ben cooking with Lugia.
Yeah, what's that guy's name?
I don't know, but they've been cooking with Lugia. That's what I'm saying. They're making it happen. Um, what else we got? There's another Archelodon down there with B Barrel. There was a B Barrel Archelodon.
Maybe a little bit more reasonable of a deck. Does seem like they're all playing at least one Relicanth, which I guess makes sense, right?
It's kind of cool with the Duraludon. I don't know. Maybe that's the way to play the deck. Maybe Luxray is, but it seems bad. But I don't know.
I'm kind of interested in this Milotic Noivern deck. So the Milotic, as a quick reminder, it has the ability prevent all effects from an attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Terra Pokemon. And
Yeah.
then its attack for a water and 2 colorless is 160. Your opponent's active is now asleep. So it's just like some sort of wall plus decent attacking deck. It's got the Gastrodon in here as well.
I wonder what that's shutting down. What are they going out of their way to try and shut down with the Dawn?
Yeah, did we
Gastrodon's
read?
not
Wait, we
very
didn't read
good.
Gastrodon. I don't think
We
we've
not?
talked about this card on the podcast yet.
I thought we did.
I don't think we have. Yeah, I'm
Well, if
sure
we
you've talked about
haven't,
it on your stream plenty, but I
yeah.
don't have memory of talking about it uh publicly. But yeah, so this card, it's a stage 1 fighting type Pokemon.
What have
It
you been
has the
saying about it?
ability
What have you been
Adhesive
saying about it
Bind.
privately then? Well,
As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, benched stage 2 Pokemon, both yours and your opponent have no abilities.
yeah. So, like, theoretically, you think about some of the most powerful stage 2 Pokemon right now, Dusknoir and Pidgeot, Charizard, Dragapult doesn't have an ability, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, is there something here?" And then you think about it a little bit longer, and you realize Charizard can evolve in the active. You can push Pidgeot up to the active to use Quick Search, and then retreat it into your attacker.
Yep.
And you can also chain Dusknoirs out of the active. You can go like Candy Dusknoir, pop its ability, push up Duskull, Candy Dusknoir, pop its ability, push up attacker, attack. So could it make things a little bit more awkward for your opponent in the current landscape of Stage 2 Pokemon? Possibly. Also, Gardevoir EX.
Yep.
Attack with attacker. You knock out attacker. You push up Gardevoir EX. Use its ability. Retreat to
Yep.
attacker. Attack with attacker. Gastrodon seems kind of mid, but there could be a future for this card. I guess. I don't know
I
where it would slot in, but
When I initially read this card, I thought it was like just insane because I thought it said stage 2 Pokemon have no abilities. Didn't
yeah.
know they had to be benched.
Also, Gastrodon has to be on the bench, and every deck plays boss, so you can bring him up and then use your ability as
But
well.
I think I think this card would have been very good if that was the stipulation, right?
I
If
think it would have
it
been broken.
Yeah, if it was just benched stage 2 Pokemon have no abilities.
Oh, just benched?
No, no, sorry, sorry. If itself is on the bench and then stage 2 Pokemon have no
Oh,
abilities. Yeah,
sure.
this card
Yeah,
would have
then it
been
would be
super,
good.
super good.
Yeah, because then you have to like have some every time you want to set up a Charizard, you have to have like a counter catcher combo to go with it. You can't just and they could have two. You can set up two of them, and
Yeah.
then you always have one on the bench.
It probably would have been a little too strong, honestly.
I agree. That seems like I don't think like stage twos. The stage twos are fine. It's not like something where it feels like they need to be taken down a notch.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing that it exists in the way that it does.
Looking at some of the other new decks here, it's really just Pikachu. There is a Miraidon deck here with Magneton, which I assume is also going to have a Pikachu EX in it. No, actually, it does not. It is just a Miraidon deck with Magneton.
Yeah, no Area Zero. Yeah, the Magneton's definitely a big boost to Miraidon in general. Should it be played with Pikachu in Area Zero? It's still a question, of course. There's no Raikou in there. That stands out to me right there. No Raikou, but we still play the Force Shield Stone alongside the Raichu V. Raichu V is probably making a comeback in the deck as well, which is kind of cool for Raichu, I guess.
They do
Because
play
now you
the stadium that boosts the HP of all your basic Pokemon by 30. I don't feel like this seems incredibly good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about against Archelodon.
Oh, but of course, of course.
That's how you play Luxray because you set up the 50 damage ahead of time to go into the Archelodon. Switch out your Pokestop to bump
Yeah,
the
they are cooking with that Manectric there, or the Luxray, buddy. Like,
yeah. But the Raichu is good now again because you can actually get enough energy in play to use Raichu. That was kind of the problem with Raichu post Flaffy is you just never had enough energy in play to actually use Raichu. Like it never would come up. But now with the Magneton accelerating 3 into play, like Raichu is actually a real threat again to run in the deck. And it could completely flip like this deck's like I could see it flipping the Charizard matchup. Not to be probably super favored, but it could make it close to 50-50. Gotta have to test that one out, but I could see that actually being the outcome of, having something like the Raichu in the deck again. Not just having it, but actually being able to use it because that's what was kinda missing.
and then other than that, we're seeing like kind of a lot of similar decks that have been doing well in the current format, still continuing to do well here. Here's just a pretty normal Raging Bolt list. I do have an Unfair Stamp as their A spec.
Yeah.
Something like it's kind of popped up a little bit, but it's not been super good. Seems like Prime Catcher is still the way to go for the most part. We see Reggie Drago list won this one here. No real new additions. We see the Iron Leaves kind of mixing it up, but no new cards or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so nothing too crazy, and I think that was what was kind of expected as we got closer. Oh, check out the Golden Go lists.
Sure,
Or was there one down here that won?
there was. Yep.
Yes, let's go.
Dusknor Golden Go, but of course.
Got the Energy Pro, whatever it's called, search your deck for one of each energy type. And it is actually still running the Palkia and the Radiant Greninja. So it has 3 basic waters and then 3 basic metals.
Yeah, this A spec is pretty dang good in Golden Go, but it's like good. I guess all A specs are good like that one time. But this one is maybe a little bit different because it's good that one time, but then now you have them all in your discard pile for superior, right? Like so it like
Yeah.
finds all your energies and then now you have access to them for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's like it's a super efficient card. It's actually pretty interesting. It also sets up your first attack by itself, right? Because Golden Go usually had to do some like mix of like Vesseling plus getting energy in the discard pile,
Yeah.
and then using a superior plus a vessel to get your first big attack off. But now you can just play Energy Search Pro and go, okay, knockout, right? So I don't know. It's interesting. It's a very powerful card in Golden Go. It feels like I don't know if it's better than Prime because of course you could just play more vessels and then still have access to Prime Catcher. But it seems like so efficient
Yeah.
that it's hard to say you wouldn't want to actually play that.
I was talking to Grant about the new set a little bit. And he said something about like, why are they making so many A specs? Do they know you're only allowed to play one in your deck? Because there are so many new A
There
specs
are.
continually coming out.
I definitely don't think it's about Grant just doesn't want to think. He just wants to play dowsing machine or
That's not
computer
true.
search.
That's not true.
My bad. Yeah, my bad.
He wants to play Maximum Belt in his Festival Lead deck, which we see won a City League here. Good old Festival Lead.
Yeah, good old. I feel like
I
nothing has
actually
really changed for this
lost to
guy.
Festival Lead today on the ladder.
Sounds like you knew what the outcome of saying that would be, but you needed to confess it. You're like, guys,
Yep.
listen,
Putting it
guys.
out there. It happens. I was playing
Uh,
Raging Bolt.
what? Oh, I guess okay. That's
Here's what
like
well,
better.
let me explain to you what happened.
Okay, does this get worse?
I start Raging Bolt. I bench like a couple Pokemon from my hand, Nest Ball for Squawkabilly, Squawk and Seize, draw 3 Pokemon and 2 Sada. No energy in my discard pile. No energy drawn.
Hmm.
Pass. They go Smash Kick with Grookey. I go
Pretty good.
draw. bad card, pass. They go, draw, smash kick with Grookey. I go draw some other useless card. So many things that get me an energy card, to just start playing the game. Like I had Greninja in play. I had Teal Mask Ogerpon. And energy lets me burst roar to draw a new hand. I just draw a pass. And then finally they get an Applin. And I'm like, oh man, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. Draw, nothing, pass. And then they got off 2, or I guess 4 do the waves before I was able to do anything. And then I was just too far behind. It was tough,
Look,
man. It was brutal.
we all have that Diplin L that we generally don't like to talk about, but Chip out here sharing with the rest of the.
This is a safe space,
Yeah,
We
you
can
can
be honest with each other.
talk about how we lost the festival lead. Oh
But yeah,
man.
you said you looked at some of this stuff today on your stream. Is there anything else that you think is worth us looking into here that you
No, I
remember
think
seeing?
I think those are the main ones. Those are the main ones for sure. The ones we already looked over, and I think yeah, looking over it, a lot of the same, a little bit of a shakeup, um, but
It is
nothing.
the first weekend over there still, so maybe
Yeah,
we'll
still stuff to
do
figure
City
out.
League Watch again next week and see if we've got any updates.
It feels like we haven't had like a. I'm trying to think of like a set. Like we haven't had like a. What would be like the best set to like kind of like a Lost Origins. I feel like Lost Origins brought a lot to the game.
Like really
Um,
mix things up, like a
yeah,
new
and
archetype.
I'm not saying we need it, but maybe it feels like I just want like a new tier one deck. Maybe that's just what I want. I just want like a new tier one deck, like or at least for a little while. But have we had that?
Yeah,
What do we get from
we
the
got
last couple sets?
we got Teal Mask Ogre Pawnee X
True, but it's not like the Drago is like something we've had before. But I did make Drago actually a
and
deck,
Raging
right?
Bolt.
Tier one decks, tier one.
Yeah,
Fucking
what won
shit.
the last North American regionals?
Raging Bolt.
Yeah, Raging Bolt's got more earnings than you do this season, buddy.
That's fine. That's fine with me. There's a lot more Raging Bolt being played than Azul GG's being played at tournaments.
True.
I would hope so. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like we haven't had like a. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I just need to like look at like what have we gotten like. Ogre Palm was like 3 sets ago though now,
I
right?
mean, it's like you look at the cards that are being played. I'd say probably the 2 most impactful cards in the game at the moment that are like Pokemon is Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then I guess Pheasantipity. But then if we're looking at like attacking Pokemon, it's like Dragapult, right? We've got
Sure.
Dragapult as a deck, and we've got Regidrago that uses Dragapult as the attacker in the deck, right?
But neither of those like Drago is a tier one deck. But I want to say
Yes.
Dragapult is. Dragapult's like a tier three deck. I don't know. I just feel like I just want like a big deck to come out. Maybe that's what I feel like I'm missing. Where I'm missing is like a big deck.
Well, you just got
Like
to start cooking the loyal 3, and maybe that's what was meant to happen at Worlds, right? They
there's
released
some
Shrouded Fable right before Worlds. It's like, here's the big deck, the loyal 3. Let's make it happen, and just nobody cooked enough. And then
possible.
we
I
got people
have
like
been
Azul showing up
seeing
and playing Snorlax.
I have seen some City League loyal 3 decks with Guru in them because Guru finds your Force Seal Zone and your Mochi, and you Force Seal Zone to the Guru, and then Petarant moves your Guru out of the active.
Okay.
So that was like I saw that recently in a City League result, which is pretty cool. Um, I don't know, maybe there's more to the loyal 3 than. Oh, Terapagos was supposed to be like the new big deck, right? But it's like fine. Terapagos is okay, right?
Oh, yeah, Terapagos, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking for like a I want like a new like a new big deck, like a Regidrago or like Lugia level powerful decks. Um,
Careful what you
I,
wish for, buddy.
I don't want it to be like broken. I just want it to be a tier one deck, like just on spawn. It gets released and it's a tier one deck. Maybe Pikachu is that though. We just haven't seen enough of it yet. Maybe Pikachu is
Yeah.
that tier one I'm looking for.
I think there is the potential there, but I think more time needs to be had, right? People got to
Yeah,
cook.
it's got to go to abilities. Abilities pretty good.
All right, well, let's move on here.
Mm.
And before we move on further into the episode, we do have to take a quick break to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. You guys know and love Dragon Shield. They make the best sleeves in the game. Azul and I use them at all the tournaments that we go to. I'm going to be using some sleeves this weekend at my pre-release. Azul will go to a tournament someday to use some sleeves. I actually did just get a restock. I did get a restock, and I'm bringing it back, Azul. I'm doing it. I'm bringing back
Classics.
the classics. I got
Oh man,
6 boxes of mints and 6 boxes of tangerine classic sleeves, no mat out here. We're
You gonna
slipping
rock
and
them?
sliding.
You gonna rock them at the next tournament you play in?
Most
Take 'em to the
likely,
pre
yeah.
take 'em to the pre-release?
I don't know if I wanna bust open I guess it's fine because it's a 40 cards, right? So I can bust open a box, use 40 cards, and I have 60 sleeves to still use for a actual deck. So that's I guess, yeah, I guess I could, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely could make it work. Yeah, huge shout out to Dragon Shield as always, sponsoring us here on the podcast. Check them out over at dragonshield.com. Link, of course, will be in the description. You can use code UEPOD to get yourself 5% off and directly support us here as well. Chip, guess that flavor text time. It is my turn to pick a Pokemon for you or a Pokemon card for you. Read the flavor text, and then you try and guess which Pokemon that card and flavor text belong to. If Chip can get it right without using a lifeline, he'll get 4 points. For each lifeline Chip chooses to use, one less point could be earned if he gets it correctly. Gets the guess correctly, excuse me. The lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and then read an attack name. Last time I picked one for Chip. Went a little bit easier than I thought it would. Oh wait, I got the guess right last week. All right, I forgot.
Yeah,
I opened up this.
people in the comments, there's a couple people who pointed out that, like, Charizard has had that flavor text since base set. Like, that is the
Really?
same flavor text as base set Charizard. So many people said that they instantly got it when I read it last week.
Bunch of nerds doing reading. I only started reading when we started guess that flavor text.
Wait, you know how to
Um,
read?
yeah, Chip's a little bit ahead. But we had a little bit of back and forth recently. It's been good. Hoping to stump Chip this week. Honestly, this one took me forever to find one. I was sitting here for a good like 20 minutes trying to find a card. I would like go through card after card and be like, no, like maybe I'm in my own head about this a little bit. I'm like coming up with ways. Like I read the flavor text and like one or two things stand out to me, and it's like, oh, if he thinks of this, then he'll get it, or if he thinks of that, then he'll get it, or this seems like a very lore attached flavor text where it's like if he just played a video game and this is like lore in the video game, he'll definitely get it then as well. Um, but I think I got a decent one here to stump Chip with. Chip, are you ready for this week's flavor text?
So ready, dude. Let's get it.
All right. For self protection, it pretends to be a bug Pokemon. Both of its arms bear keen edged petals.
For self-protection, it pretends to be a bug Pokemon. Read the second part again.
Both of its arms bear keen edged petals.
Keen-edged petals. Okay. So not a bug Pokemon because it pretends to be a bug Pokemon. It has petals on its arm though. Okay, this is an interesting one. So, I mean, I'm thinking like bug or forest adjacent type Pokemon, like Pokemon that would be around bugs, that would be reasonable that they would be mistaken for a bug. So, like grass types or poison types, potentially. Definitely some of the first things. Its arms, it petals on the arms. I mean, man, I'm definitely gonna need some help, and probably will need to hear the full flavor text again at some point. Um, let's start with read an attack name. A rarely started with lifeline. Let's hear it. Read an attack name to me.
Petal Blizzard.
Okay, well that's not super helpful. I mean, it is a wait. Is that? I feel like that attack is like the signature move of Venusaur. I'm not gonna lie. And it does have the big flower on its back, but does it have anything on its arms? Read me the flavor text one more time, Azul.
For self protection, it pretends to be a bug Pokemon. Both of its arms bear keen edged petals.
Well, Venusaur doesn't need to be protected. It's pretty big. It just kind of exists and it's protected. Let's go with what set the card is from. I'm probably going to need to use all the lifelines, but let's go with what set the card is from.
Unified Minds.
Okay, and then what stage is the card?
Stage 1.
Unified Mind. So that is the Mewtwo and Mew tag team set. There is also what else came out in that set? Petals. Self-protection. Man, this is a good one. This is I'm gonna have a tough time here. I really don't have much. I don't think there is a Venusaur Ivysaur, so that rules that out pretty quick. I don't think there is a Vileplume, so like Gloom. I'm thinking of Pokemon that have flowers and stuff. So Gloom is out. Uh oh, Levani. There is Levani in that set because Rowlet and Alolan Executor came out in that set, and I remember people played Levani with it. And Swadloon is the stage 1 of that. I don't think Swadloon would have Petal Blizzard, and also Swadloon is also literally a bug type. So that doesn't really make much sense. Shoot, man. Petal Blizzard. I'm trying to visualize the grass types that exist in that set. I just can't think of anything else. Swadloon may be my best bet, but there's no shot that the Swadloon has Petal Blizzard. What Pokemon has Petal Blizzard? It's like one of the most powerful grass type attacks in the video games. Oh man. Stage 1 from Unified Minds with Petal Blizzard. Petals on the arms, right? Something like that.
For self-protection, it pretends to be a bug Pokemon. Both of its arms bear keen-edged petals.
Keen edged, I guess, is that like sharp? Is that what that means?
Hardship, we're gonna need you to
I,
lock.
I guess I'm just gonna have to go with Swadloon. I don't think it's right though, because Swadloon is literally a bug type Pokemon. So I don't think it's Swadloon, but I know there's a Swadloon in the sets. That's what I've got right now. Let's go with it. Swadloon.
Is not Swadloon Chip. I'll give one more hint out there just because it's kind of a funny coincidence. We just talked about this Pokemon on the podcast.
Lurantis?
It is Lurantis, yes.
No.
It's so funny
No.
that that came up.
Dang, what a bummer.
It's not a bug, though? The heck? How
No,
is
it's
that
a
not a
grass type. I think it's a monograss type.
so it's not a bug type, but it's also not but it looks like a bug, like, how is it not a bug?
It is a monograss type Pokemon.
It looks like a bug to me.
It
Alright,
does look
Chip.
like a bug,
It
which I
does,
guess would
yeah.
make sense as to why it pretends to be a bug, because it looks like a bug.
I mean, it's like a praying mantis, right? Which is a
Yeah.
bug. I don't know. Might have to call fraudulent on the game developers here.
I mean, there's like Scyther, which is also like a praying mantis type Pokemon, right?
True, it's not a bug.
It is
Oh,
a
look at
bug. It is a bug.
oh, what the heck?
Scyther is a bug flying type.
They're literally just out here just like,
That would
some
be a
stuff's
fun
bug,
game,
some
is
stuff's
like
not.
Azul tries to guess the 2 types of a Pokemon.
Well, some stuff is one type, right?
Yes, yes.
Alright, well, I got a couple of them down. Scyther's a bug. Bug grass.
A
There's a
bug.
bug
Wait, Scyther's what?
bug flying.
Bug flying, yes.
Ooh, okay, and then Lurantis, mono,
Monograss.
monograss.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
What about let's see. What would be a funny one? Embor.
Uh, uh, is it even fire? Fire
It is fire.
fire dark?
No, fire dark would make sense. But it's actually fire fighting.
Wait, aren't they, like, all firefighting? Aren't, like, all the starter fire Pokemon aren't, like, most of them firefighting?
They are
I
not
thought
all firefighting, but they just did 3 generations in a row of a firefighting starter.
okay,
Generation 3 was Blaziken, which was firefighting. Generation 4 was Infernape, which is firefighting. And then people saw Embor and they're like, or Tepig is like literally a like dark colored pig. So it's like, okay, this is gonna be the dark type for sure, a dark fire type. What a sick combination. And then it evolves into Pignite, and it is a fighting type, and you're like, they really did it again. They did it again.
I just assumed you were trying to throw me a curveball because I knew that what'd you call it? Fun fact about the starters that a lot of them are firefighting. So I
Okay,
was
what
gonna say
about
firefighting, but
what type is Inteleon?
uh Dude, I don't water or it's not ice, is it? It's not ice. It's water. Mono water?
Let's go, Azul. Mono water.
Could not come up with anything else that it could be.
All right, last one.
All right.
Decidui.
I mean, my assumption is uh grass flying or oh,
Ignore the fighting because that's like Hisuian Decidui, which is different.
hmm. Mono flying? Is that a thing?
Mono flying is a very rare typing, but it is a thing. But it is not Decidui. As you can see in the TCG, it has this little green symbol in the top right that has
But
like a leaf on it. So usually Pokemon that are that type in the
this is grass
TCG,
flying?
no, it is grass
Oh.
ghost.
Oh, I think I've heard that before actually. I think I knew that.
It's grass ghost. But
Yeah.
Rowlet is grass flying.
Changes it up as he gets bigger.
He
Interesting.
does. All right, Azul.
Gotta
Well,
keep 'em guessing.
good pick on the Lurantis. I did not get that one. Let us know in the comments if you were able to get the Lurantis. It is funny that we just so happened to talk about it in this
Yeah.
episode.
It did
But
come
yeah, it
up.
did not work out for me this time.
Hardship, maybe next time. Hopefully not. All
And
right,
now it's
so
time we can finally talk about the results from the tournament that happened this weekend over in France.
Lil regional championships went down, and I feel like we've had a couple tournaments this season already where it feels like a deck dominated the tournament just in terms of top cut placements, but didn't win. If I'm remembering correctly here, we had um Lima. There was 4 Dragapults in cut,
Yeah.
didn't win. Um, maybe that was the. Do we have like another one? I felt like we had like another one
Baltimore
where I
was
felt like that.
Lugia.
Yeah, Baltimore was Lugia. Yeah, the 3 in cut didn't win, but now finally the deck that has the odds in his favor took down the dub, and it was James Cox, who has been a um, top player in the game for a little while. I feel like he doesn't have like that many placements. He has strong finishes at Worlds, which is of course like the most important finishes, of course, right? End of season World Championships. And but he's been very much respected as one of the best players in the game, I would say for sure. Um, and yeah, he was able to walk away with the dub here with the Reggie Drago, which is pretty sick to see. And Europe has once again failed to defend their region. 3 regionals in a row.
A little bit of a cop out here, right?
I don't know. We're looking at the limitless page here.
So
Mickey
James is from
Mouse.
Australia, and he's part of that like really strong Australian testing group with Natalie Miller, Kywin,
Right.
Brent Tonneson. I'm sure there's other people mixed in there as well. Um, but he, yeah, is from Australia, works with that crew, but I believe lives in the Netherlands actually. So like maybe you give him like 20% European, something like that. I don't know. I wonder what percent he would give himself European. Probably less than that.
Yeah. I like
He's
to
lived
chalk
there
it up.
for a while now, though, I think.
Yeah, I think it seems like he goes to like all the European tournaments and stuff like that. And so I think he has been over there for a little while because if he's been going to all the European tournaments but living in Australia, that's quite the trip to do. So I think he has been over in Europe for a little while. But it's such a good meme on Europe that they haven't won a major yet. It's only been 3 in a row of their last 3 regionals. Gdansk is coming up. They got a little bit of a back-to-back. There's no other major tournaments happening this weekend coming up, and then Gdansk is the weekend after. So they'll have some time to, get back on the board. Slow start, but, very strong players over in Europe. Um, for some reason, they're faltering right now, but I'm sure they'll turn it around eventually. It's just like a funny statistic, and the longer it goes on, the funnier it gets. It makes me question whether or not I should go to Gdansk to do my part for the meme. Um,
That's
because
the
yeah.
thing that it would take to get Azula to go back to a
Yeah.
tournament. A good
Just to
a good
stop Europe.
meme. A good meme.
Yeah.
That's all
Dude,
he
I've, like,
needs.
seriously thought about it. I'm like, "Dude, it would be so sick." Like, I don't even have to win. If I can just do my part, beat some
When
Europeans,
is it?
I'll go, like, 9 and 4 or something in
Oh,
day 2.
it's like next weekend, right?
Yeah, yeah. Not this weekend, it's the next weekend. It's coming
You
up.
should just go.
True.
Why
My part
not?
I gotta do my part for the meme. Gotta just beat as many Europeans as I can. and then I don't even have to win the tournament as long as a non-European wins. We're good to go. Chip trying to like coerce me into going to the event. Why not? Why wouldn't you go?
Yeah, come on,
Come on.
man. Come
Think of the
on,
meme.
man. Think of
Um,
the meme. If you're gonna go, you should book it very soon because the flight will be a lot more expensive if you book it like in 2 days because of the it's way more expensive if you book within 7 days.
I don't know if that's really, but sometimes if you book a flight like 2 days before a flight, it'll be really cheap because they're trying to get rid of the tickets.
Not
Depends.
often. Not
It depends if
often.
the it depends how full the flight is. I think is more so than anything. If it's
Mhm.
like an empty flight, then they'll drop the prices. Um,
It's
but yeah, I think
that's
this
$700 on Scandinavian Airlines.
right now.
Yeah.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted.
Let's get it, buddy.
I know it wouldn't be hard to convince Caleb to go, so at least have a
True.
travel partner. Um, yeah, James took it all down with the Reggie Drago. Nothing crazy either. Like it's the knock towel build, the 1/1 knock towel. Thankfully, didn't go overboard with the owls and go like up to a 2/2 or anything like that. Kept it in line.
It's literally
Reasonable
John
amount of
Ing's
birds.
Dortmund list and Bradner's
Oh
list.
yeah, literally nothing different. I didn't know if they played the jamming tower there or not, so I didn't know if that was like a new tech going into this weekend because of the Raging Bolts playing Bravery Charm. But that's been around for a little while, and we saw quite a bit of that, to be honest. Just speaking to that, there's a decent amount of vacuums and jamming towers in quite a few decks, which makes sense. Raging Bolt, the most popular deck, seems like the best way to play the deck has been discovered. And why wouldn't you tech against it when that's that combination going into this tournament? Um, that makes sense. But yeah, nothing crazy in the Drago build, right?
Yeah, yeah, all stuff we've seen before. Main thing is just the fact that it was the Noctowl, right? And then taking down Clement in the finals with a Dragapult build using Pidgeot.
And no Dusknoir, I think is the big thing here.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that. I feel like one of the things this maybe speaks to is not so much is this better than the Ryuki build. It's like it feels like for Dragapult to really find that success, maybe keeping it simpler is just the way to go, right? If you're gonna play Dusknoir, maybe it's better to go to more towards more consistency than also playing Pidgeot and vice versa, right? If we're gonna go into the Pidgeot style build, maybe it's best to not also try and cram Dusknoir in there, right? And that's what we've seen be the two most successful ways to play Dragapult. Now, there was a lot of Dragapult that made cut in Lima. It was a 2-2 split on Pidgeot and non-Pidgeot, but Ryuki with the dub, just Dusknoir alongside Dragapult, and then we see Clement here with the second place finish. And the finals was actually just absolutely abysmal, if I remember correctly. I think it was just basically Clement draw passing. Or
oh
wait,
yeah,
was it a game 3 set? I don't know. Oh, no, yeah, Clement made a super sick comeback in game 1 because James, misplayed and put down Pheasantipity too early, and then Clement was able to punish that by trapping it in the active and, like, locking James wasn't able to create a board state with Mew in play, so you didn't have, like, on board draw power no matter the situation or potentially the situation, but you're gonna get Iono'd low in the late game, and then Clement made, like, a super sick comeback in game 1 with some counter catching and stuff like that, and James's bench was locked without Mew in play, so no draw power. And then game 2 and game 3, Clement basically just like drew past both games. It was literally like, and game 1 was also a really bad start as well. Game 1, Clement opened really, really bad, but like made a sick comeback. Um, so it was a pretty. Besides game 1, the finals was pretty rough from there. I think the game 3, Clement used Gust with a lone Pidgey in play. So then I'll tell you how the set went after the game 1 comeback. I think there was a comeback in game 1. Clement had a sick comeback, but I'm pretty sure it was against James.
yeah. I think I saw someone talking about that on Twitter actually. But yeah, there's tons of Drago in top cut. Kywin playing the same 60 as James, part of the testing
Yep.
group. I believe Brent got top 32. Is that right? Yep, with the same 60 as well, I'm assuming. Um, and we did see Alberto Conti also with Drago. No Noctowl in his build, but he did lose to James in top four, I believe, right? So,
Yep.
maybe that's the secret. The Noctowl is the difference maker in the mirror?
I don't
Question
know if
mark?
the owl would have saved Alberto in that game 3. It was pretty tough.
Yeah, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then we do see a Snorlax here getting top four.
Yeah. Roan here with the Snorlax. And this is we'll talk about a more interesting Snorlax build here in a second, but this is like a little bit more standard. It was teched out for the Lugia matchup though. That's like the big question if you're going to play stall at a
Yep.
regional right now. Do I tech for Lugia? Usually the go-to has been a bunch of Temple of Sinnohs and the Giacomo, but we see this build here, one Diancie, which does 40 damage for each special energy attached to your opponent's active, which does KO Cinchino if it's doing anything relevant, as well as the Giacomo alongside that. So if you can get through the rats, all of a sudden you can set up the Snorlax plus handheld fan into Giacomo trap on some Archeops potentially. So I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know if that's enough to really still take down Lugia consistently, but it did go out of their way to actually tech for the matchup a little bit.
And then, yeah, speaking of Snorlax and the interesting builds, I feel like this is one of the more interesting things to come out of this tournament was Sander Wojcik. He's back with a control build, and it is Rotomless Snorlax.
Yeah, which is I don't know, it's really interesting. You have I mean, that was like a big win condition for a lot of decks, um, is to go after your Rotom, right?
Yep.
It's a way for them to retreat their active Pokemon because the Snorlax isn't in the active. It's also 2 prize cards, and games take a while. They'll usually be able to go after it at some point, and then that will set you behind those 2 prize cards and make it a little bit easier for your opponent to potentially win from there.
And then so
Um,
to make up for the lack of Rotom here, he's compensating with some item-based cards, mainly the trekking shoes to draw through the deck a little bit more. He's also got a lucky helmet in here to draw some cards. Uh, and then the big one, the most unique one, and I'm sure the one that most people had to read when they saw this deck list, is the boxed order item card. Search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, and then put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Your turn ends.
the developers of the game love Sander, bro. They've got to be so excited that this card made it this far in a major tournament for sure. Because this card sucks. But when you have nothing else to do but pass and getting item cards like Counter Catcher or Nest Ball for your next Snorlax or accompanying Flute or Night Stretcher for your next Snorlax, it becomes actually pretty decent if you're otherwise just going to pass, to be honest. So, really cool innovation on this build from Sander that opens up a lot of new cool lines to actually be able to close out games. Or not like close out games. It allows you like new lines to kind of take that didn't exist before. I played with it a little bit on my stream earlier, and now you can just kind of play games by running your opponent out of switch cards. Whereas before you had to hope to catch them with Eries and Misfortune Sisters. You can just go like Snorlax, 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 counter catcher, boxed orders for Night Stretcher, counter catcher, repeat, and then you eventually just trap something in the active. You only have Snorlax in play. You see it burn through their switch cards. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can win games in ways you couldn't before. Of course, like I mean, drawing 3 cards per turn is pretty good when you're not going to pass anyway. So Rotom is like not bad. I don't know if this is the better way to play the deck, but it's close for sure. It's definitely very, very good.
I almost wonder if these cards here, like 4 trekking shoes, 4 boxed order, could be committed to like Pidgeots.
Well, we've seen that before, like from Liam Halliburton and
Yeah.
who was it? Jeremy, right at Baltimore.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, and Brent played a similar list to that at like EUIC, right?
oh, did he?
Or sorry, Bert
Oh,
Walters.
Bert. Yeah, Bert
Yeah,
Walters.
Bert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is like maybe another angle to take it. It still is a 2 prize liability, but it does have a lot more HP. It's surviving a lot more. Your opponent can still retreat off it though. They can like boss up your Pidgeot EX, retreat, and then attack into it, even if it's not for a 1 KO. Um, yeah, we've seen that build before as well. But I think that's the point of this build is trying to remove any potential Pokemon that can be gusted to then be pivoted out of, or like liability, easy knockout 2 prizer.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Going back up to the top 8, we did see a couple of Lugias here, Joshua Van Overschedule and Ethan Wild, both getting top 8.
And
This
Joshua's
is
been running this list for a while.
same 60 from Worlds, same 60 from Dortmund, same 60 at Lille.
Yeah.
The
Definitely
thick
there's not a
3-3 rat.
yeah, it's a thick rat line. There's definitely not a consensus on like I feel like the Rahul build has a little bit been phased out of what people are considering. I think heavier rat is probably better.
Easy come, easy
Um
go, buddy.
yeah, I think the heavier rat line is probably a little bit better. We've seen Kieran have a lot of success with that. We see that build there from Joshua. 3-3, I don't know about 3-3 rat. That's a lot of rats, a lot of squad. But then we see like the Ethan build here doesn't have a 2-2 rat, and it's a 2-1 rat with
Nope.
authority, which is like
A 1-2 rat.
oh yeah, 1-2 rat with authority, which is like something. Like I did see him tweet out. He was like made top 8 with Lugia with the optimal rat line. So he's very much thinks this is the line to go with. I'm not sure about that. Also had the water pawn in here, which probably wasn't as good into this weekend as previous weekends because people are probably upping the Manaphy counts a little bit
Yeah.
for Lost Box, but still like a good inclusion nonetheless. So yeah, no one's really like there's no consensus on like the Best way to play Lugia right now, to be honest. People are over the place. There's a Squawkabilly here, no Squawkabilly in Joshua's build. I like the Squawkabilly personally. I think that or Carmine. I think just having one of those really helps you set tempo to like just not whiff your turn two chops, double
I think
chops.
Josh does have the Carmine. Yeah.
Oh, is there a Carmine? Oh, okay. Joshua does have the Carmine. So at least has the Carmine. Yeah. So everyone's like playing one of those, like Squawkabilly or Carmine. It looks like then, which makes sense. Um, Yeah, definitely no consensus. And Joshua, I initially thought Joshua added the jamming towers, but Joshua's been playing the jamming towers and just hasn't taken them out. So
Been
wasn't
on
like
the
a
towers. You think he's using the
yeah.
same sleeves? 3 tournaments in a row,
Maybe it's possible.
just rolling with
Joshua,
it.
if you ever hear this, let us know. Or did you use the same sleeves for all three events?
And then
Um,
rounding out the top 8, actually was a top 9, right? There was
yeah,
so Nina here, did lose in the asymmetrical, with
very
the
similar
similar
build.
builds with the Noctowl here,
I think it
but,
might just be the third Iona over the fourth research in that one.
there was 1 Raging Bolt
Put that
in
in
the
there.
top cut. Gotta be 1 representative, and it's Anthony here.
And with the 4 Bravery, this is almost exactly, I think, the list that Xander played at. Louisville just cut the Briar, right? Is it just minus Briar plus catcher or something?
Yeah, because I think Xander did say that he, did not like the Briar. I think that literally might be the change.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's close. It's definitely close to what Xander played. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like Raging Bolt's been figured out for right now for this meta right here. I think like moving into Gdansk will be the same thing. You probably want to play 4 Bravery Charm, pretty good deck. Um, Yeah, it did kind of falter a little bit this weekend, but I think it'll be a better play probably going to Gdansk just because people were probably like there was like a lot of jamming towers, a lot of vacuums for sure.
But yeah, other interesting decks here. I mean, we see a Banette, which we've seen before. We see Luke Kirkham with the Gouging Fire. He's been on the Gouging Fire for a
Yeah,
little bit.
been on it for a while. I don't know how different this list is from his Dortmund list. I think he had like 2 Entei at least in the Dortmund list and some other stuff. And Gouging Fire is one of those decks where it just doesn't feel bad. It feels fine. I played with it a little bit early on my stream. His exact 60 felt fine. It felt like Gouging Fire. I played Gouging Fire before, and it's like yeah, nothing too ridiculously powerful. Sometimes you just feel like a weak Raging Bolt deck depending on the matchup. But yeah, it's like it's another deck kind of like I feel like this is a this placement. I feel like when people look at results, like some people asked me right after this tournament, I was like, "Oh, well, now what do you think about Gouging Fire?" I was like, "I think the deck is still probably like mid. Like I think it's still probably mid." But let's look at the full picture here. We had Luke Kirkham, who's been playing, he's a well above average player, playing Gouging Fire for a long time. It's kind of like the Yella situation, right? It's like Golden Go isn't anything super special. It's a pretty mid deck, but you have Yella, the most invested Golden Go player in the world, continuing to play it, well above average player in terms of his skill, especially with the deck. Like this was, yeah, you don't just want to look at, oh, this deck made top 4, this deck made top 16. It's like, okay, but why did it do that? Was there did the meta lineup super well for it? And the results do matter. Just taking the result at face value matters to some extent, but I think there's a little bit more to some of these results. Some people will just look at the name and be like, "Oh my gosh, of course they're there. It's that player." Or they'll just look at the deck and be like, "Oh no, this deck has to be broken. It got top 8." It's like, but when you put everything together, sometimes there's a little bit more to the story than that. And I feel like this is one of those situations. Gouging Fire, it's mid. I think overall, I think it's fine. It's a fine deck, right? It's like a tier 3, tier 4 deck overall in the format, the meta, whatever. But like I said, well above average player who's been playing it for a really long time. You're gonna have a huge advantage against most people who have no idea what's going on or what to expect from your list, and you know
Yep.
everything about every single popular matchup.
So there was only 1 Terapagos in the top 32 here. It was Nico
Yeah.
Alibas.
I did struggle a little bit. I think it was 7% day 1 to 7% day 2, um, but it didn't do too impressively in day 2. I don't think it's, like, too much to read into there with that either. Like, well, there was also 4 Reggie Drago in top 8. That's, like, a lot of Reggie Drago, right? And I don't think, like, Reggie Drago is head and shoulders above the rest of the meta in that kinda way, right? And I think it did get helped out a little bit here by, Raging Fraud going from 15% day 1 into 8% day 2. It wasn't quite as big of a drop off as Baltimore, but that's still, like, a lot, right? Definitely stands out how much Raging Bolt dropped in popularity from day 1 to day 2, which I think definitely helps the Raging Bolt or the Reggie Drago players who did make it to day 2, you're seeing 1 to 0 bolts then for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that definitely helps Reggie Drago's continued conversion, from each phase of the tournament to the next, helps quite a bit avoiding your worst matchup for sure.
Yeah. Dragon Ball had another tough one, right? Right. It went from 8 to 5, which isn't terrible, but it's still
Palkia fell off pretty dang hard.
yeah. Palkia also fell off pretty hard as well. And then so, I mean Stall had a huge come up, right? From not even on the best of the rest day 1 on into 8% day 2 or 9% day 2. So,
Yeah.
Onyx had a pretty big come up overall on this one. I like when they show the full graph, when they show the best of the rest. It's always cool to see like the bigger story a little bit as to like what actually happened in the meta. Obviously Terrapico's kind of just like stayed there 7 to 7. Already had to come up, but then it wasn't super impressive with the end results. And it was a mix. I think the top
I
2
almost
placing
wonder if
Guardian decks were
this graph
1
should
turbo,
just
1 non.
be a pie chart.
Kind of like looking at like this a little bit more, to be honest. Although I wish they would set it like the 7% should not be as tall as it is. It should like scale with where it starts. It should be like a continuation, not like a reset of what is left in like you see how the 7 is so
Yeah,
tall?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would be cool if it was a continuation. Pie chart, it feels like that'd be like a lot harder to read. It'd be so small, like all the little
Yeah,
names
but it
and
would
stuff
be
would be
all the
so small.
information at one graphic, right?
Yeah. I guess I just have to see what it looks like. Maybe it would be fine.
I mean, it's like there's like the Japanese account that tweets out the pie charts from the Champions Leagues and stuff.
I'm trying to think of like what would be best. Like for me, it would be fine, but I'm thinking about like the average
Sure,
or
sure.
more casual viewer when they go look at a pie chart like that. It feels like it's gonna be a little bit harder to digest and read.
What's the name of that account? Poke CA. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'll have to scroll down to find a pie chart. Yeah, here we go.
Okay. I assume the one that would like be on the official
Yeah,
Pokemon
it
would
would make
probably
it
be a
look
little
a
bit
little
cleaner.
cleaner. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Put some lines attaching the number to the pie slice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be okay. I'm not against the idea of it. I'm just thinking, yeah, my thing is my thought process is always just towards like what would be better for the casual person to like
Yeah, for the
easier to look
general
at.
viewer base.
Yeah. It feels like the
Yeah.
other thing is a little bit better.
Any other lists here from the tournament you want to take a look at?
Now there wasn't really actually that much that really stood out to me.
That was interesting to see what Tord played, and he did play Lost Box.
That was a surprise. I was actually kind of surprised by that for sure.
Yeah.
And the list was
It's pretty similar to Davidson's list, with the addition of Pheasantipity and Iron Thorns being kind of the two big differences here.
yeah, had those 2 in. The other changes looks like -1 Poffin, plus second Night Stretcher.
Yep.
1 less energy. I guess there's only 7 energy in here as opposed to I guess that's like a Night Stretcher adjustment there, maybe. Yeah, I definitely was not expecting Tord to be on the lost box, which was one of our predictions. Would we both guess? We could both guess that Tord would play Charizard.
Yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and get into our predictions here. Uh and one of them was what deck would Tord play. We both said Charizard, and he went with the Lost Box. We actually were both completely aligned on all three of our guesses, and we actually got the other two correct. Our other prediction was what would the highest placing Lost Box be? Maybe if we knew Tord was playing Lost Box, we would have said higher, but we both said top 32, and indeed the highest placing Lost Box was in the top 32. It was 29th place from Matthias. And then our next prediction was how many players would there be in Top Cut? And the answer was indeed 9.
Yeah. I cheated on that one, but
Well, yeah,
it
because you
was
tried to say 16 at first.
it's what I wanted, but it's not possible. Well, actually, it is possible. The tie rate would have to be absurd.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it would have to be for us to get there, but it would have to be a really
Everyone
weird
plays
tie.
like a certified snail.
Yeah. Certified snail.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Well, Chip, I think that's all for this week's episode. Unless you had anything else you want to go over, but I'm good for you to send us out.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a bunch to everyone for listening as always. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave us a like, a review, a rating, a comment, subscribe, all those things. We're very close to 10,000 subscribers here on the podcast YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe if you have not. It's quick and easy and free way to support what we're doing over here. And if you want to stay up to date with us, the best place to do it is over on X. You can follow myself at ChipRichie Azul at Azul_GG. And you can follow the podcast at uncommon_energy.
Appreciate the support as always, and we'll catch y'all next week, Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.